Then we have some longtime friends here with us, Brother Shane. You probably remember him. Go back a few years. I know there will be some who don't know him, so some of you who are more recent. But long ago, he had put in our heart a desire to go to Guyana. This was pre-COVID, and I remember him standing here and pointing and trying to get a whole team going, and then the Lord closed that door through COVID, and we were not able to go, and then we just kicked Shane to the curb and forgot all about him, and we went to Guyana anyway. Remember how that worked out. Here, Brother Danette showed up just out of the blue. Just a guy lives in Guyana, offered his home, and we took him up on it. And now we've been to Guyana, and so he's here to pick a bone with us. He wants to know why he lined up the party and didn't even get invited when we had it. Amen. But I appreciate Brother Shane. He's here with a friend, Brother Steve. Many of you may know him from Louisiana. And then Brother Steve has a friend of his with him, Brother Kevin. And this is an interesting. I want to kind of pause the service just a little bit and kind of highlight this. So just stop the clock. Don't worry about time right now. But Brother Shane is a soul winner. If you know him, he sold his business several years ago very well. Business doing very well, but it was consuming all of his time. He wanted to just be available to go soul winning. And just liquidated everything to go soul winning and started that life of being a soul winner. And one of the very first marathons that he would have gone to, he met Brother Steve there, who I believe was an assistant pastor at the time, and he was learning how to go soul winning, and he didn't want to admit that he wasn't saved himself. And while Shane was leading people to the Lord, Steve bowed his head and prayed with them, not telling Shane that he had gotten saved. And then that made a soul winner out of Brother Steve. He got a fire lit in him, and he became a soul winner who now has led Kevin to the Lord. So you got Shane, who led Steve to the Lord, and Steve, who led Kevin to the Lord, and they're here. They drove straight through to be here for soul winning yesterday, church today, and they all have to be at work on Monday. That's an encouragement to me, and I appreciate that. Brother Shane, if you could come at this time, share a testimony. Rake us through the coals for not inviting you to Guyana. We will never let that happen again, but he's a friend of ours. He's a soul winner and a soul winner. He reminds me of Brother Tim Yakish. If you know Brother Tim, Tim is a soul winner. He's out sick this morning. We appreciate your prayers. But Brother Shane, you come and just share a testimony that God has on your heart.
Morning, everyone. So the last time I was here, I was preaching to you guys and inviting everybody to Guyana. And we were going to have this great mission. It was going to be called the Full Commission Mission, where we were going to go and we were going to preach to everybody, and we were going to rent spots, and we're going to have a baptismal there, and we were going to preach to them, get them saved. If they wanted to get baptized, get them baptized, and then immediately from the baptism, take them out and take them soul winning. So that was the plan, and then obviously COVID shut that down, and then here we are, and then I find out. Months later, I didn't even, through the grapevine that you guys had gone to Guyana without me, and I didn't get invited. And I was like, wow, wow, how could this happen? And but you guys went, you had a great time, and it's been a blessing. And so what I've been doing, Guyana actually, I didn't go during COVID, so I went. I just went this year in August 23. I went to Guyana, and the reason I went is. My mom is Guyanese. The whole reason we went to Guyana is because my mom is Guyanese, and she had a sister there that was sick, and I wanted to go preach to her. And what happened was I invited Brother Rob, who a lot of you know. I invited him to come along with me, and he came along. And then Pastor Anderson found out, and he came along. And then we just went there just to see what was going on. But the whole mission was to go and preach to my aunt. And that just opened up a can of worms. 5 trips, thousands and thousands of people saved. But because my mom is Guyanese, I found out that I can get citizenship. So I'm trying to get citizenship there. And if you're a citizen of Guyana, you get land. And if we can get land, we can build something, and we can actually build a ministry there. So that is, so Guyana is still on the map. And I heard you guys are going back in November. I've been formally invited this time, so so I hope to make it. And any of you that go to Guyana, I encourage you to go to Guyana because it's very receptive, and the people are friendly. They all speak English, and you don't have to worry about language barriers or safety or anything like that. For those of you that go, because you didn't go the first time, you didn't invite me, you didn't get the full experience, you didn't get the black water, you didn't get to go to Cousin Wayne's house that you've seen in all the videos. Cousin Wayne lives off-grid. Everything that you eat is grown on his farm. He's got all kinds of land. It's like a jungle. It's cool. So anyways, so I'm glad to be here today. This is just a whim. I was doing some work with Steve in Louisiana, and I left my car there, and I decided to fly home, and I was going to come back and get my car, and that was back in October. And so I said, man, I should come get my car, shouldn't I? So I said, I'm going to come down, and let's get my car. And he said, why don't we go down to Revival and visit Pastor Boyle? I said, sure, let's do that. So here we are. And the interesting thing about this is, Pastor said that when I got saved, I sold my business. I had a very big business, and I made a lot of money. And within 3 months of getting saved, that was 9 years ago. Within 3 months of getting saved, I realized I was wasting my time, and I just wanted to go soul winning. So I sold everything, and I got the bug for soul winning, and I was just like, I went to a soul winning marathon in Dearborn, which was one of the first ones that I went to. And when I seen somebody knock the door, it was Brother Rob. He knocked on the door, and a person came out, and he gave them the gospel, and I watched that person get saved. I was like, that's it, I'm hooked. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And literally, that was, I got saved in April. I think that was in May or early June. And by July, I'd quit everything. And I was like, okay, that's it. And I just took all my money, and I traveled the world. And anybody that knows me kind of knows my story. And anybody that really knows me knows that I'm a flake, because if you go out with me, you will be waiting for me, because I will stop and talk to anybody and everybody, right? And so what happened is, on the way here, I got a couple interesting stories, because Pastor asked me to share them. When I booked my flight, I flew into Louisiana, and I was supposed to fly into Baton Rouge. So when I put in the search engine, I put Baton Rouge for the search, Toronto to Baton Rouge. And I ended up booking a flight. I called Steve, and I said, hey, I'm landing at midnight in Baton Rouge. I'll see you there. And he's like, yeah, no problem. I'll pick you up. Now, Baton Rouge to where we are is only an hour drive. So it comes time to check in for the flight, and it says, check into New Orleans. I'm like, New Orleans? I didn't put in New Orleans. And so I start going back and looking, and I didn't pay attention, but I booked a flight to New Orleans, which is a 3-hour drive at midnight to get there, right? And I'm arriving Thursday night, and we're driving here on Friday to come for Soul Winning Saturday. And so I said to Steve, I'm like, man, I'm sorry, I don't know. He's like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, well, there's a reason I'm going to New Orleans. Obviously, right? There's got to be somebody that's got to hear the gospel. So I booked the flight, and or I get on the flight, and I'm on the prowl. I'm like, everybody, I'm looking like who's getting the gospel, right? And I'm talking to people, nobody's receptive. I land in North Carolina. I'm looking around. I got my cards out. I'm like, I'm handing out cards. Nobody's receptive. Okay, it's not North Carolina. Get on the plane to New Orleans. I'm sitting down with the lady beside me. Go to give her the gospel. She's saved already. I'm like, okay, well, it's not the lady on the plane. And so we get off the plane, and the lady says to me, she goes, I've never been here before. Can you, she goes, I don't know where I'm going. I said, well, let's walk together, because I kind of know my way around New Orleans, the airport. So we start walking, and I'm still looking, but I'm with this lady. I'm still looking, nobody. And then she starts, I'm supposed to go this way, because I know the exit's this way, and she's going this way, and she kind of walks, and then all of a sudden she says, I'm good, I think I know where I am. And she just departs, like, all right, see you later. And then I look, and there's a guy standing there. He works at the airport. His name's John Butler, and he's the guy that pushes the wheelchairs. So I walked up to John Butler, and I said, hey, how you doing? You know if you're going to heaven when you die? And he's like, no, I don't. And this guy, John, was on his way. He was a Christian on his way to converting to becoming a Muslim. And he was kind of confused about the whole Jesus thing. So I ended up giving him the gospel. And halfway through the gospel, he's like, why did you stop and talk to me? And I told him the story. I said, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in Baton Rouge, but I'm in New Orleans. And I said, I'm looking for somebody, and I guess you're the guy. Amen. And he's like, wow. He goes, that's amazing. He goes, God set this whole thing up, and he ended up getting saved. And so now he's a Christian, not a Muslim. So that was the whole point of going to New Orleans, was I had to, by God, switch Baton Rouge to New Orleans, and here we are. And then yesterday we showed up for Soul Winning. We were on our way to Soul Winning, and we stopped at the McDonald's, and I was just standing outside, just standing there, just walking around, just kind of looking, just stretching my legs, and this guy is walking across the street, and there's a highway there, and he's walking across the street, and I'm looking at him, And all of a sudden, he stops in front of me, and he crosses the street. And I start walking towards him and walk over, and we meet. And I say, hey, if you're going to heaven, end up giving the gospel, the guy gets saved. And then he walks like from here to there, and then he crosses the street and goes to work at Popeyes. I don't even know why he crossed the street. He just crossed the street. He came to me. He got the gospel, and he crossed back over and went, right? And then the last testimonial that Pastor asked me to share was I was in the mall yesterday in close to Pastor's house there. And just to goes to show you that even though this is 9 years ago, I got saved almost 9 years ago. And, soul winning, like, I'll talk to anybody. I'm a nut bar. I jump out of cars and stuff like that, as you know. But everybody here is a soul winner, as far as my understanding. And it just goes to show you the mind process that even as experienced as you are, sometimes you got to push through. So this is a simple story, but we were in the mall, and I decided to go to the washroom, or the restroom, you guys call it. I decided to go to the restroom, and as I'm walking over to the restroom, it's through the food court. This father and his son, they got their food, and they were just sitting down at the table. And as I'm walking by, that little voice says to me, "Go talk to them." And I look at them, and they're setting down their food and everything, and I'm like, man, that's just weird, Even myself, as experienced as I am, and I know I got amazing stories, I'm like, man, that's weird. So I continued on. I walked by him, went to the restroom. I came out. I'm walking by, and the voice says, "Them again," like that. Talk to them. And I'm like, man, I don't know. And I kept going. I walked by him, and as I walked by him, I prayed. I said, "Lord, if you want me to talk to them, let me run into them again." And that was the prayer, and I kept going. And so then I meet up with Steve and Kevin, and we turn around to leave to go to meet Pastor, and we're supposed to go this way, and Steve walks this way towards the food court. I don't know, he just walked that way, and I'm just following him. So as I walk around the corner, who do I literally bump into? The Father and the Son. And I'm like, okay, well, it's showtime. So I gave them the gospel, and they ended up getting saved. So it just goes to show you that even when you have the doubt, like, you still got to push through. Because if I would have just listened to the voice the first time, I could have just went. They were totally receptive. I'm like, they wanted to hear the full gospel. They were in no rush. They were like, take your time, And I'm like, man, I don't know if I should talk to them. But they were completely low-hanging fruit. So thank you for letting me talk, and there you go.
Amen. I appreciate Brother Shane.
No problem.
He's come here to be encouraged, and we're encouraged. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then there's another.